Good morning and good afternoon. My name is Russ Bermejo. I'm a Senior Program Associate here at Children and Family Futures. And on behalf of my colleagues here at CFF, I want to welcome you to the Family Drug Court Learning Academy 2016 Virtual Classroom Series Orientation and Kickoff webinar. And happy St. Patrick's Day as well. A couple objectives that we want to accomplish today. And there's several moving parts regarding this virtual classroom series, and we're really excited about doing that. So really what we want to accomplish is that you will gain a good understanding of what we want to do in 2016. It's a different approach, it's a different learning format, and so we hope that we will have a chance to answer any questions you have regarding the virtual classroom series. We also want to raise the awareness of the value added, that we're always trying to improve our way of delivering technical assistance and virtual training. And so we're hoping that you will actually recognize the value of the virtual classroom format. And then lastly, we hope that it will lead you to an actionable step or an action step. And we're hoping that either you'll register for one of our virtual classrooms or forward this to a colleague and have them register. So we've uploaded a few handouts on the GoToMeeting. So you'll be able to see that on the right-hand side in the handout sections. There's 4 handouts uploaded right now, so feel free to download those as well. That includes this PowerPoint presentation, the agenda, and the flyers for the Learning Academy. So welcome again. We want to acknowledge the support of the Office of Juvenile Justice and Delinquency Prevention Program in our work here at the National Family Drug Court Training and Technical Assistance Project. We are grateful for their support, and just as a disclaimer that the points or views, opinions expressed in this presentation are ours and not necessarily representative of the office, the official position or policies of OJDP or the U.S. Department of Justice. So I've been here at CFF now for 7 years, and it's pretty amazing what we've been able to accomplish at the FDC Learning Academy. I've had the privilege of managing the Academy throughout, and we're actually entering our 7th learning community. And so over the course of the last 6 years, we've delivered 42 webinar presentations to over 3,000 participants from 49 states. And the feedback that you've gotten has been overwhelmingly positive. So again, we appreciate your support and your interest in the Learning Academy. And we've uploaded our flyer that actually outlines the 42 webinar presentations that we've done over the course of the last 6 years. And again, you can upload that at the handout section on the right-hand side of your screen. We want to see your prior experience with the Learning Academy, and we want to take a polling question right now. And a couple of developments that we've seen over the course of the last 2 years is that we were seeing a lot of first-time attendees. Like last year, I think 30% of our attendees were first-time participants. So what that means is that the word is spreading regarding the Learning Academy, that you forwarded this on to your colleagues and to your teammates. And so we're really appreciative of that. So we wanted to kind of get a sense on how many prior Learning Academy webinars have you attended over the last 6 years that we've been delivering these presentations. And so Alexis, if you could launch that polling question. Is this your first time? Have you attended 1 or 2 webinars, 3 or 4, or 5+? And it looks like that over half of, about 50% of the participants say this is your first time. So again, this is consistent with the trend that we've been seeing. So again, we welcome you to the FDC Learning Academy. We hope that you find out more about us and that you will join us this year in 2016. So this slide describes the FDC movement, and starting in the mid-1990s, fashioned after adult drug courts, we saw a progression of the movement where we actually were able to define what effective practice looks like, the 6 common ingredients, and then a growing investment by the feds in funding family drug courts. So we saw that through the Regional Partnership Grant, the OJDP FDC grant, and the SAMHSA children affected by methamphetamines grant. And so with that, they launched some practice improvements, that there was an increasing focus on children's services, trauma-informed care or an approach, and use of evidence-based programming in your family drug courts. And then with that, in the last year or two, an increasing attention on systems change, that trying to take the family drug court model to scale and have it be a permanent fixture in your communities. And then our goal is that eventually they become permanent fixtures within your communities, not reliant on grant funding, but drawing from funding within your community. And I say this because with the evolution and the progression of the family drug court movement, we have come across family drug courts that are along this range of developmental phases. So in your community, you may have recognized that we don't have a family drug court program, but we could launch one to better serve families that are affected by parental substance use. So you recognize the need, and within your collaborative are in the stages of actually planning and launching a family drug court. And once you actually do that and you sign your MOUs, you're trying to get it launched. And so you're working on stabilizing your partners, getting the right kind of staff, increasing your referral flow. So we call that early implementation. But there's lots of challenges during those early phases of implementation. And then in the program expansion or enhancement phase, you're recognizing that there's a need to go to scale and expand your scope of services. So when we talk about scale, we're talking about the penetration rate, or to what extent you're serving the larger population of families affected by parental substance use, so impacting more families. And in order to meet the complex and multiple needs of those families, how can you provide a range of services or increase your scope of services to meet those needs? And then what we've been also seeing is that there's established drug courts. They've been in existence for several years now, but because of maybe staff turnover or leadership transition, or maybe even model drift, that there is a need to redesign, to actually go back to the drawing table and rethink their program. And this has resulted in either a change of model or an expansion of partnerships, but we call this the redesign phase. And then there's this move towards institutionalization. As I mentioned before, it's this really movement towards making sure that your family drug court is there to stay, that it's a permanent fixture in your community. It's a new way of doing business. It's a new way of serving families, and it's relying not necessarily on grant funding, but within relying on resources within your community. So with this range of development phases, there's this need for technical assistance that's responsive to these needs. And what we've seen is that there's still a need for a broad range of technical assistance, but we've seen requests now that are a bit more complex, that require a bit of in-depth work on our part. So this has been the trend in the field, and it's been a challenge to us, but we've been always seeking ways of how we can respond to the technical assistance request of family drug courts. And in many ways, we've had to really become really great listeners and take on a customized approach when we deliver technical assistance, that there's contextual issues within the community that need for us to understand before we can just simply provide assistance or give them a resource. So we wanted to ask you, where are you at currently in your family drug court? What developmental phase is your family drug court? And Alexis, if you can launch that polling question. And if you're uncertain, there's no response for that, so you can abstain from your vote, or if you're a state leader and are removed from the direct line, you could abstain from your vote too. But if you're actually involved in a family drug court program, what developmental phase are you currently in? We'll take a few moments to vote. So let's close the poll, and it looks like that the majority of you are in the redesign phase. And so what we can infer from that is that you've been around for a while, that you're an established program, but you're looking at how you can improve your programming and rethinking maybe your approach, your partnerships, or maybe even your model. So during the course of the Family Drug Court Learning Academy, we've really focused on addressing this wide range of topics. So 40 presentations, and again, please take a look at our flyer in terms of the topics that we've presented on. But there's been this increasing request from the field about, okay, now I get what effective practice looks like, and I understand what best practice looks like, but really, can you show us how to do it? So this really needs for application, from taking training to actual practice. There's actually requests to find out how other family drug courts are actually doing this. So connecting with other programs and practitioners throughout the country and finding how are they tackling this challenge or this barrier? How are they addressing this policy or practice issue? And then there's also need of really sharing what's happening in the local community, that each of these family drug courts lie in a certain context or landscape, and that's important for us as technical assistance providers to understand what's going on there. So again, much more in-depth in terms of being able to provide assistance and maybe even kind of taking a customized approach towards how we can support you. So this year's learning approach kind of reflects this T model. So if you look at the upper bar, the horizontal bar, that there's still this need for a general overview, that there's this need for best practice and continued assistance on how do we do this, and please share what effective practice looks like. So again, we want to be able to have a broad reach still, but then on the vertical line, being able to dive deeper, and that there's a need for interaction, there's a need for networking and deeper learning. So that's the approach that we wanted to take this year. So for the 2016 Virtual Classroom Series, we decided that we were going to, again, provide a pre-recorded webinar, and I'll go into detail in a few slides regarding this, but really we wanted to take a standalone pre-recorded webinar that has a wide reach, that's accessible to the wide audience, but then be able to offer a virtual classroom where people that are willing to invest the time to register and join a live virtual classroom that's going to involve and connect them with other practitioners throughout the country, and hopefully result in collaborative and deeper learning. So I'll go through each one of those, but want to introduce the 4 topics, or the 4 virtual classrooms that we decided to launch this year. So early screening and assessment, governance, structure, and leadership, supporting the parent-child relationship or family-centered approach, and data information systems. So you'll have a chance to meet an instructor of each of those classrooms, and they'll be sharing some of the potential topics that they'll be exploring in their classroom. Again, first we wanted to share and launch a pre-recorded webinar. So again, this presentation is meant to be a standalone presentation that we'll launch this for our May classes. We're going to launch this actually in in April 1st. So that's going to be uploaded on our website and on our blog, and we'll make sure that we make that announcement. And again, it's meant to be a standalone presentation, and a discussion guide will be attached to that presentation, so you can utilize that and view that as a team. And this recording will be actually available for 2 weeks, and it's going to be required that anyone that signs up for that classroom, that they view that in preparation for the first session. And these pre-recorded webinars are meant to provide a wide overview, a broad overview of key elements and best practice principles. And these pre-recorded webinars are going to be about 30 minutes long, so we're trying to make them accessible, really kind of sensitive to the economy of time and the investment that it takes to view webinars. So again, we're really trying to make these accessible and a standalone presentation. And then the classroom format, and that we're asking people to pre-register for them. Space is limited, and so we're hoping to have each classroom range between 15 and 25 people. So pre-registration is required. We're going to use the Adobe Connect platform because of its interactivity and its ability to do collaborative things on that platform. They're going to be facilitated by CFF staff or guest instructor. So there's going to be 1 or 2 instructors assigned to each of those classrooms to facilitate the discussion and to present material and to assign preparation and application activities. And each of these classroom sessions are going to be an hour each, and they're going to be spread two or 3 weeks apart. So you'll have a chance to prepare, to complete any homework or application activities, and really take the necessary time to practice or to utilize the tool or actually complete the homework assignments. So 2 to 3 weeks apart actually will give you that opportunity to do that. Here's the schedule, and right now the registration is open for the screening and assessment and governance leadership classes, and you'll see that they're offered on different days of the week. So the screening and assessment class is going to be offered on Thursdays, and the governance leadership class is actually going to be offered on Tuesdays, and that's to be sensitive to your schedule and actually widen availability. So the registration is open for both of those classrooms. And the webinar will be available for the screening and assessment on April 1, and we'll make sure that we send out an announcement for that and the link for you to view that. And then a few days later, we'll launch the governance and leadership webinar. And then you see the schedule for our July series right there. And registration will be open for those classes starting in June. We're hoping that, again, value added in terms of learning. And so we thought that this virtual classroom format would offer some real learning benefits. So we're hoping that participants, by engaging in this format, are going to be able to experience real-time networking and knowledge sharing, that there's actually an opportunity for coaching or mentoring, whether it's through the CFF staff or the guest lecturer or from another FDC program or practitioner. The need for applied learning also, we want to recognize that, and that there's going to be homework or project assignments that were thought through by the instructors that we think is going to be helpful in your learning. And that the Adobe Connect Classroom offers a 24/7 access to the classroom. So if you wanted to connect with other cohorts in that classroom, that you would be able to do that. And then again, technical assistance and resources provided by CFF. To kind of get a gauge on what you think is valuable, we wanted to ask you one more polling question. So of these features of the virtual classroom, what would you consider as the most valuable? And I believe that you're able to select up to 3 of these. So again, is it networking, being able to connect with other practitioners and other professionals? Or would it be coaching or mentoring from someone who has experience in this practice of policy issue? Is it access to the classroom, or is it the homework assignments and the tools that will be shared? And if it's something that's not listed here, if you could type that in the chat box, we'd be interested to hear what that might possibly be. Okay. Let's close that poll. And it looks like that coaching and mentoring is a feature that you're probably the most interested in. So that's helpful for our instructors in terms of being able to provide those opportunities. Thank you. So the question is, who should attend? So obviously, the classrooms are geared for family drug court practitioners and stakeholders, and it's meant for people that really are interested in addressing challenges. So we're looking for people that have a barrier-busting mentality, that they see challenges as opportunities. And this issue of challenges is really important because we've asked the instructors to use the challenges or the potential challenges, not only from what they've heard in the field, but actually what's raised also in the classroom, to use challenges as the basis of the curriculum and the topics of their discussion. So we're going to be really teasing out and drawing out the challenges and then being able to come up with solutions together. Practitioners who are interested in applied learning, which we know is important for adult learning. So again, there's going to be homework assignments. We're actually calling those applied activities. And assigned readings also to help you in your preparation and your learning. And again, practitioners who are interested in connecting with other FDC professionals, and again, those who are interested in coaching and mentoring, as you guys have pointed out, we're hoping that we will have this kind of draw from the field. So this is part of the webinar that we want to introduce to you the instructors or facilitators. So we've asked one of the instructors for each of the classrooms to introduce themselves and to introduce their co-facilitator, and then share some potential topics, some points of discussion that they hope to explore in their virtual classroom. And so for complete bio summaries, please look at your webinar agenda, which again has been uploaded on the handout section of your panel screen. So we're excited to introduce Alexis Balke, who will be running the early screening and assessment virtual classroom, which starts in April. So Alexis.
Yeah, thank you, Russ. So I'm Alexis Balke. I am a program associate for Children and Family Futures, and I'm also the program manager for the National Family Drug Court Training and Technical Assistance Program. I see a lot of familiar names on the attendee list, so I'm very excited that you're here and interested in continuing the discussion in these virtual classrooms. I am personally thrilled to have the opportunity to facilitate this classroom. As the program manager for the TA program for now almost 5 years, I have noticed that there's a huge trend or a huge increase, especially recently, on TA requests focused on developing a more comprehensive identification, screening, and assessment protocol for family drug courts. Being able to kind of push the envelope or to move the identification up as early as possible and to be able to route families to the most appropriate level of care and treatment is a priority for many of the family drug court practitioners that I have worked with. Our classroom will focus on some of these key considerations. Considerations when you're selecting the screening and assessment tool, the actual tool, but also we're going to go a step further and discuss how it's less about the actual tool that's used and more about the team. And what I mean by that is that the information sharing and what you do with that information after you conduct the screening and assessment is just as vital as the actual selection, or not more vital than the actual selection of the tool itself. Well, hopefully our classroom, or I'm confident that our classroom will be able to go in depth about some of the barriers and strategies to developing a comprehensive protocol and a screening and assessment protocol, and that the conversation will cover any kind of development or retooling of whatever protocol you already have in place. Some of the things that we can talk about is how do we integrate screening and assessment into our already existing safety and risk assessments or already existing screening and assessment protocols that we have in place, and how can we appropriately match or make sure that we match our families to the services that they need. So again, I'm really excited about facilitating this classroom, and I think one of the key things that I hope to get out of this is the monitoring aspect of screening and assessment. So it's beyond just the front end of developing the protocol or selecting a tool and assessing the needs, but it goes a step further into identifying systemic changes that might be needed. So looking at drop-offs, how do we monitor our parents' progress and our family's progress throughout their case, as well as how do we monitor our family drug court success and be able to identify or be able to match service to need for our families. So it's going to be, we're going to do some homework assignments such as system walkthroughs and doing some drop-offs. And I hope that's not scaring you away from the classroom, but I think for pretty much all of the TA requests in the courts that I've worked with, they have found that the walkthrough process and identifying the drop-offs have been incredibly vital to resource allocation and be able to identify how to continue to improve their family drug court and continue to increase the number of referrals and families that they can reach. I'm going to invite some people or some family drug court practitioners that I have worked with in the past that have done system walkthroughs and drop-offs to join the conversation and share with us some things that worked for them and their court and some barriers and some things that they had to overcome while doing this type of activity. So I guess the goal for my group personally is that I want to make it as interactive as possible. I don't want to be sitting up, facilitating and just lecturing. I want the conversation to be rich and interactive, and because I really honestly feel that everyone can learn from each other and their experiences. And with that, I'm excited for our group. I'm ready to roll up my sleeves and get started moving towards screening and assessment success. So thank you, Russ, for giving me this opportunity, and for Children and Family Futures for hosting this type of discussion.
So thank you, Alexis. There's been a strong response in terms of our initial enrollment, so that class is filling up. So if you're interested, please register today. So thanks, Alexis.
Hi, everyone. My name is Bonnie Tangella, and I'm the Program Associate for the Family Drug Court Training and Technical Assistance Program. I'll be co-facilitating the Governance Structure and Leadership classroom session with Jane Pfeiffer, who's a Senior Program Associate. And in working with many of the family drug courts across the country, we began to notice that many of these sites experience challenges in building an effective governance structure and really building their leadership capacity. And oftentimes we'll hear common barriers from our work, including identifying the right people for the committees or work groups, or clearly understanding the roles and responsibilities of committee members and function, specifically a lack of focus or sometimes really getting bogged down in the process. Also, just a lack of ineffective or inadequate information flow between the FDC team and the larger subcommittees. And oftentimes there isn't a communication protocol in place. And above all, having the right leadership to pull and keep the momentum going in between these meetings is critical. So in trying to be responsive to the needs of the field, we've organized the classroom discussion based on these challenges, as Russ mentioned earlier. The first session will really drill down on the foundational principles of leadership that are necessary for effective family drug courts. And the second session will go into key features of effective governance structure and how sites can maintain these structures over time. Oftentimes we'll hear, we have a governance structure in place, or why do we need to do that? We already have it. But oftentimes to keep that momentum going is critical. And in the third discussion, we'll be looking at how both of these come together, how effective governance structure and leadership are in operation. And we'll hear from our guest speakers and sites that have been successful and have worked through many of these challenges. So we're really excited about this new webinar design and facilitating this sessions, and really our hope is to enhance the interaction, as Alexis and I'm sure the other facilitators will mention. This isn't supposed to be lecture style. We really want an open discussion and conversation, and we're really going to tailor each of these sessions based on your individual feedback in the sessions itself. So with that, we're really excited for this opportunity, and Jane and I look forward to meeting you in the classroom. I'm going to turn it over to Russ now, who is the instructor of the Parent-Child Relationship Classroom.
Okay, thanks, Bonnie. And again, the registration for the Governance Structure and Leadership Classroom is open, and that class is filling up too. So again, if you're interested in joining that discussion, please register today. So I'm going to be partnering with Anna Rosales, and she's unable to join me today here, but we're excited to be part of this Parent-Child Relationship Classroom. And just a little background on Anna, she has 14 years of social work experience, and as a family care, family preservation worker, early intervention, and she also has some research and evaluation. But I'm really excited about her experience as an adjunct online faculty member in the psychology department at Northeastern University. And she's also the online section instructor for the human behavior as well as social policy class at Boston University School of Social Work. So she, I think, brings in a certain kind of skill set for this particular platform along with her expertise. So we're excited about the parent-child relationship, supporting families in family drug courts for recovery, unification, and permanency. And we know that this idea of supporting the parent-child relationships is one of the unique features of the family drug court model. And so we know that some of the challenges in the field that we've been hearing is that services aren't necessarily integrated. And so this idea of being really thoughtful in your design and how to deliver family-centered services in a thoughtful manner is actually a need that we've been hearing. There's also an underutilization of family assessment tools for family functioning. And so there's a need how those can be used for case planning, but also for unification decisions. So there's a tool from North Carolina called the NICFAS that actually has been helpful for some family drug courts. So we're going to be exploring how some programs have utilized that tool to assess family functioning and their readiness for reunification. And also the importance of ensuring quality contact, whether that's through a parent-child programming or evidence-based parenting program, or through either through visitation, that there's a need for applying what they've learned in these classes in real life. And so how can family drug courts be really intentional about ensuring quality visitation or quality contact? It's going to be something we want to explore. And then lastly, the implementation of evidence-based parenting or programming, such as parenting education and trauma services. And then maybe touch on the funding of family-based services, that family drug courts realize that it's important to be family-centered, to provide family support services. But how are some drug courts actually funding these services is also something we want to explore. So with that, we are thinking about taking on this approach, that in our 3 discussion sessions that we want to talk about the essential elements of supporting the parent-child relationship. But again, how can we do that in an integrated and coordinated way? How are drug courts doing that in an integrated and coordinated way is something that we want to explore. And then one of the questions that we've received from many family drug courts is, how do we know that families are ready for reunification, that they're participating in treatment, they're participating in parenting, but how do we really know that the parent and child are ready for reunification? So again, how to be able to not only use certain tools, but actually, like in the early screening and assessment, how can you actually leverage the team? Because that process of actually collaboration and team discussion and critical information flow is also important in terms of decision making. So we also want to explore how you ensure critical information flow in your case planning and in your FDC program to help you monitor the family progress and inform important decisions such as reunification. So we're excited about this class. Registration opens in June, so you'll be receiving email blast, some promotional material regarding that class. So we're excited to launch that this summer. And then lastly, we wanted to introduce Margaret Lloyd. So she's going to be the instructor for the data and information systems. So I have Margaret online right now. Let me unmute you and so you can hear from Margaret.
I apologize, 1 second, some technical difficulties. There we go. Oh, okay. Margaret, we should be able to hear you now.
Great. Hi, everyone. As Russ mentioned, my name is Margaret Lloyd. I am a family drug court researcher and a PhD candidate at the University of Kansas School of Social Welfare. I've taught in the traditional classroom before, but this will be my first virtual classroom, and I am really, really looking forward to it. In terms of research, I currently serve as one of the evaluators on a SAMHSA FDC expansion grant, and I also work on 2 regional partnership grants. And I will be guiding this classroom with Ashe Shea, who is a research associate at CCFF, working on the Prevention and Family Recovery Initiative. So we all know that evaluation is a key component of drug courts, and yet within the family drug court field, courts and researchers often struggle to collect, analyze, and use data to inform practice. So the purpose of our classroom is to create an opportunity for data sharing and brainstorming among family drug court professionals from across the country on these issues that are important to us in terms of data and information sharing. Ashe and I will develop some key questions to guide a useful discussion on the topic. We will both share knowledge from the empirical literature, provide our own input based on our research, training, and experience, but we also want each session to be spent in conversation with other folks currently working in or with family drug courts. Some of the specific topics that we want to cover here on the PowerPoint: how do you know that families are doing well? How do you know your family drug court is making a difference? How do we resolve technology and trust barriers in information sharing? How can you raise the bar in becoming a data-driven family drug court? Why is data vital to ensure effective screening, assessment, and referral protocols and track what happens to families? How can leaders and governance structures ensure information flow and utilize data to guide decisions? Also, perhaps, where can you find current research on family drug courts that's happening in other parts of the country? Or if you are producing some important findings from your own drug court, how can you disseminate that information about what is and is not working? Harnessing the power of data is really one of the best ways to take your family drug court from good to great. Data can be used to monitor how quickly clients are getting into your family drug court after their DHS case opens, how quickly clients get into treatment after walking into your family drug court, during which phase clients are most likely to disengage, what proportion of families reunify, how many fewer foster care days are family drug court kids using compared to kids in general child welfare. And perhaps most important to a lot of policymakers is how to estimate cost savings related to your family drug court. You may be answering these questions in your court already, but be interested to hear what other courts are doing to streamline the analysis process. So these are the types of questions that we want to discuss during our classroom sessions. Again, we all know that data are the most effective way to gain stakeholder buy-in and legislative support for family drug courts, and building a data-driven framework is what makes it possible for you within your family drug court to highlight the successes, to highlight the effectiveness for not only policy change, but also for grant making. So whether you are a data professional, perhaps you work in a court with a sophisticated data collection system, or maybe you have limited experience in collecting and evaluating data, I still think that you'll benefit from participation in this virtual classroom because we're going to be all sharing knowledge and expertise. For those who have more expertise, other participants are going to benefit from hearing about your successes. If you have less experience, other participants are going to benefit from discussing shared challenges and hearing about barriers that you've already addressed. I firmly believe in the idea that there is no dumb question and everyone can learn from things that have proven to be challenges in other courts. So no matter where you are in terms of data and information sharing, we think you're going to leave this classroom with more knowledge on evaluation in family drug courts and with next steps for moving forward. So I just want to say thank you to CCFF for creating this opportunity. I'm super excited to be a part of this. Ashe and I are very excited to share knowledge that we have, and we also think we're going to learn a lot from our participants. So thanks so much.
Thank you, Margaret. So as you heard from the instructors, all of them draw from a certain level of expertise in the field, and they have a lot of experience in working with family drug courts. But we believe that collectively within the classroom that together actually you have more expertise together than that you can find in one person. So again, being able to draw from collective intelligence and collective expertise is going to be key. And then again, being able to discuss this in network, that we're really kind of drawing from social learning, that we actually gain knowledge and that we develop as professionals by interacting with others. So those are two important values that we want to adhere to in the virtual classroom series. So again, thank you for the instructors. Again, the Data and Information Systems classroom, the registration will be opening in June, so please look out for information about that. So where do you go from here? So you do have the opportunity, again, to register today for the screening and assessment and governance and leadership classrooms. You can visit the FDC blog, or else you'll actually be receiving links from a follow-up email, actually. So we'll make sure that you receive those links in the follow-up email that you'll be receiving in a few days. But again, multiple ways to register for that class, for those classrooms right now, and spaces are filling up. And for those who register, these are things that they can expect before the first session, that they'll receive a welcome and introductory email from the instructors, that the instructors also are thinking through a pre-survey to not only gauge your level of understanding, but also kind of get a good feel of your communities and your programming and your programs. So a pre-survey will help them gain that knowledge. There's going to be a link to the pre-recorded webinar, as we stated, and then a course syllabus which outlines the schedule, expectations, the topics, and the preparation application activities. And if you're not familiar with Adobe Connect, we'll also include a user guide that's going to help you orientate yourself to the platform. And before I actually talk through this slide, in a few minutes we're going to be taking questions. So if you have any questions during our Q&A that you would like us to answer in a few minutes, please open up your chat box, which you'll find on your panel screen on the right-hand side. Click on the plus sign and enter. You can enter actually through the chat box or actually through the question box, and we have either Vonnie or Alexis. They'll look at those and pass them on to me. So we'll do that in a few minutes. So how can you maximize the learning opportunities? So I think one strategy to do that is that you can assign certain staff. That we know that this is a significant time investment, but that you can assign certain staff to attend and cover all 4 classrooms. We think that that's an exciting opportunity if you take advantage of it. Again, the 2 classrooms, at least for the April-May series, are offered on Thursdays and Tuesdays. So hopefully that will work out depending on your schedule in court and in your staffing. The instructors are actually going to be offering office hours, so that's going to be outlined in the course syllabus, but they're going to make themselves available. And I think the idea of coaching and mentoring could actually happen during those office hours, so they're going to make themselves available to the participants. 24/7 classrooms, again, is a possibility with Adobe Connect, so we'll provide more information if that's something your cohort wants to take advantage of. And maximizing learning opportunities, you can view the pre-recorded webinar as a team, and we're going to be offering a discussion guide to help you leverage your learning. So again, be on the lookout for that. So we want to take a few minutes to answer any questions that you may have regarding the virtual classroom series. Again, one of the objectives here was to make sure that you have a good understanding of our approach, our instruction approach, but also the learning approach, and that we're available to answer any questions right now that you may have regarding the platform and our structure.
We have a few questions from our attendees, and one of our questions is, if you register for the first class, would you be automatically registered for the following 3 classes or the following sessions?
Yeah, so that's a good question. So the registration, the way that we have it set up is that when you register, you actually register for the whole series. So it's a one-time registration, and that gets your seat reserved for that classroom. And in your confirmation or in the registration, it'll outline the dates of the 3 classroom sessions. So it's a one-time registration. When you sign up, you'll be reserved for all 3 classrooms.
Great. And I think during that registration, it'll also ask you if you're available for all 3, 1, or 2 of the classroom sessions. So it gives you that opportunity to enter that in as well.
Great. And another webinar attendee would like to know what's the time commitment.
Again, good question. And we know that this format can be pretty intense, and it's a pretty intensive time commitment. So we were thinking that the webinar is half an hour, that there's a possibility there for team discussion. So you have that activity, and then you have the 3 classrooms, which will be an hour each. So if you take the 3 classrooms plus the webinar, that's about 4 hours, and then preparation, and then possible homework or application activities. So the way that we've looked at it is that the time commitment can be anywhere between 6 or 10 hours. So that's something to keep in mind when you register. You know that that's also important when you get approval from your supervisor or management also. I think one question also that's come in is what about if I can't attend all 3 sessions? Is that okay? And the expectation is that you'd be able to participate in all 3 sessions, and that's for those that attend all 3 sessions, they'll be able to get a certificate of completion. We understand, again, your busy schedules and the time commitment, so if you're able to attend 1 or 2 sessions, just please let your instructor know, just as a heads up, and that should be fine.
We have another one that just came in right now. They're trying to register for the governance and leadership classroom, but the submit button is grayed out. What is I think there has been a fix for that reason.
Yeah. So that was one of our initial glitches. So you might actually be looking at one of our early emails, which had that bad link. So please look for the most recent email that you would have received from the Family Drug Court team, and that link should be good. If you're still running into problems, please contact us, and then we can fix that. Make sure that you're able to register.
And we'll double check to make sure the correct link is provided on the email that's going to be sent out after this event, and that way you'll have the most recent and correct link for all the sessions.
And a question that we get oftentimes is, do you offer CEUs? So the Family Drug Court Learning Academy still does not offer CEUs, and we know that that's something that's of value to our participants, but we haven't been able to meet those certain requirements that allow us to provide CEUs. So we do offer a certificate of completion. We will do that for those who attend all 3 sessions. But Vonnie here in a few minutes is going to be actually share some tutorials. So if you are looking for a way to earn CEUs that's geared towards this practice or topic area in terms of how to serve families in child welfare that are affected by chronic substance use, Vonnie's going to share some resources from the National Center.
And just real quick, another opportunity is you will be getting a syllabus, you will be getting an agenda, you have our bios, and a certificate of completion. And then depending on what state you're from, if you send that to your board of approval, that may be enough for you to get credit for CEUs or CLEs. If you need any help with that process, let us know. But we can't give you direct CEUs or CLEs, but we can help you try to get those awarded by the state or whatever your governing body is for those units.
Thank you, Les and Alexis. I'm going to quickly run through some of the resources that are available to everybody on the call today. We're really excited about our newly revised Family Drug Court Guidelines publication. The research has grown substantially over from our 2013 publication. In that one, we had about 55 or so studies, and the research has now more than doubled in the current version. The publication is now posted on our website and for easy access and download. Also, I want to take this opportunity to highlight 2 upcoming conferences. The 2016 National Child Welfare League of America Conference will focus on efforts to enhance cross-system collaboration, especially for children and families affected by substance use disorders. The conference will also offer the opportunity to discuss and disseminate information on trends and policy and practice in the field. It's going to be held from August 1st to the 3rd at the Hyatt Regency in Orange County, California. For more information, please visit the CWLA website. CWLA also recently published a 2-volume child welfare journal special issue, Families in Child Welfare Affected by Substance Use. The journal includes 4 Family Drug Court specific articles presenting findings on Family Drug Court program compliance and child welfare outcomes, changes in adult, child, and family functioning amongst Family Drug Court participants, issues pertaining to rural family drug courts, and findings from children affected by methamphetamine drug court program. And also the journal had guest editors from our executive director, Dr. Nancy Young and Julie Collins. The other national conference that's upcoming is the NADCP. Will be hosting its 22nd annual training conference at the Anaheim Convention Center. The 4th annual VetCourtCon will also be held simultaneously. Children and Family Futures is once again involved with the Family Drug Court session track, and the NADCP website has posted its program agenda, and so you can log on and learn more about the Family Track session. I also want to highlight our Learning Academy webinars with over 70 hours of content. We have a blog that complements the webinar series. that provides additional information on each of the webinar topics as well as highlights. There are many other resources that we attach to the blog that supplement the webinars. And we're really excited this year. We have a broad-scale launch of the Family Drug Court tutorial that's coming out soon. This is a self-paced tutorial in which you can invite newer Family Drug Court professionals, and we'll cover basic knowledge of the Family Drug Court model and program operations. Participants will be able to get a certificate of completion after completing all of the 5 modules. We also have 9 peer learning courts or mentor courts that are currently situated across the country, and they're willing to share their doors, open up their doors or have phone calls and share any of their policy and programs and really offer support that you may need. And one of our very popular resources is our discipline-specific materials. In many places, you have new team members that may be joining, and you want to be able to provide them with some orientation materials. You can log on to our website and select your discipline and download a specific set of materials that will help them come to speed with what Family Drug Court is and best practices. And you can also supplement these with your local Family Drug Court resources, such as your local policy programs and procedure manuals. And lastly, I'd like to highlight our newly updated online tutorials that are hosted by the National Center on Substance Use and Child Welfare. There are 3 tutorials, all brand new material with updated research, one for understanding substance use and recovery for child welfare workers, one directed at treatment professionals, and one for legal professionals. Each of these do come with the ability to obtain CLEs and CEUs, so feel free to take advantage of that. With that, I want to thank all of you for joining us today and listening to this orientation webinar. Please feel free to contact us if you have any questions about the upcoming classroom discussion or just in any of your training and technical assistance needs. We'd be happy to talk with you and work with you. And thanks again for all the work that you do on behalf of children and families. And this will conclude today's webinar.
Thank you, everyone, and have a great day.
Thank you. Happy St. Patrick's Day.
We hope to see you in the classroom. Bye-bye.